I tried telling that idiot Matt B. Great that Alabama wasn't going to beat Tennessee, going up there in Knoxville, Tennessee, Neyland Stadium, thinking they're going to beat Tennessee. Come on, man. And you want to know what is so sweet about Tennessee beating Alabama? Well, number one, I hate Alabama. I can't stand them. So when Alabama loses, the rest of the college football world wins. But to go on top of that, you know what makes all this 10 times sweeter? I bet Matt right now, Matt B. Great, that idiot, he's up in his room right now. He's sick to his stomach. He's probably crying. He can't even take it. Oh man, let me sit my stogie down and get my chair, get nice and comfortable. I wish I could say I'm shocked, but I'm not. Alabama losing a close game because of the field goal kicker. What's new? And honestly, that's the saddest part about it. We're so numb to this as Bama fans. Losing these last second games by freaking field goals. It's honestly sad at this point. It's not even laughable. It's just straight up sad. Thank you, God. I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless. Can today get any better? Alabama losing. USC losing. I'm just thankful they kicked off before 12 and I got to see a game. It was just an awesome day of college football. Can't ask for too much more. Wait a minute, Matt, what are you doing? What do you mean what I'm doing? I'm taking a seat. I mean, how do I say this nicely? I don't want you to take this the wrong way or anything, but I kind of thought you'd be a little upset and disappointed and maybe even shed a tear because Alabama lost a heartbreaking game. Everybody's clowning you on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Kind of shocked to see you out here. No, man, you got it all wrong. I'm not upset we lost the game. It's more so of how we lost the game that really gets to me. You got me with that one. All right, that's a good point. And by the way, I know this is kind of off topic. You need to do something with these chairs because every time we come out here and talk and just have a football conversation, we have to sit in these chairs because they're always wet. You need to fix that. All right, I'm sorry. I know that was besides the point, but on a serious note, I am dying to know your thoughts on this Alabama-Tennessee game. Is it over for Alabama? What's next? Whoa. Hold on. I know what all these Alabama fans are doing. I'm not going to do it. I'm not blaming the refs. I'm not going to do it, and I'll explain why. Just hear me out. Because, yes, was that pass interference where we picked off the ball late in the fourth quarter when it was 4th and 6? Was it a wishy-washy and iffy call, maybe some home cooking? Yes. I can't really fault anyone for believing that. I believe it myself. But also, Bama fans, you got to remember, in the second quarter, we got one of those pass interferences go our way as well. So it evens out. You can blame this, blame that. Find any excuse in the book. But here's how I like to live my life. Not just when I watch college football, but live my everyday life. Control the controllables, and Alabama did a very bad job doing that. Once again, was there some questionable stuff that didn't go our way? Yes, but that's how life goes. When it came down to it, when we needed to make the big time plays late in the game, we failed. Where do y'all go from here? You gave up 52 points in one game. The offense is fine. We knew that. The defense, not so hot. Hello? Matt. You hear me talking to you, right? Yo, you gonna answer the question or what's going on? I'll leave it at this. We'll be back. Alrighty then, but hey, I can't blame the dude. I'd be upset as well if I spent $20 on a stogie and didn't get to smoke it. There's only one thing left I gotta say. I can't wait to see what he says in this video. Alright, now that he's gone, I didn't want to show him this, but I gotta show you guys this. A deal is a deal. I told y'all if Alabama loses in the regular season, I'll shave my head bald. And a deal is a deal. I am bald. This is the Week 7 recap. Let's get into it. Just trying to collect myself here. It's tough. Any other Alabama fan that tries to tell you otherwise, they're not a real fan. In my life, I live by this philosophy. And this isn't just as a college football fan. This is my everyday life. I never try to get too high when things are going good, and I never try to get too low when things are going bad because I know it's going to even out. As bad as your worst days are going to be, it's never always going to be bad. And as great as your greatest days are, it's never going to be that great. It will even out. So that is why I myself walk through this life even keel. I try to be calm, cool, and collected, similar to Bryce Young. But, and I have a big but, I'd be straight up lying to all of you if I said what I saw last night didn't hurt me some type of way. I'd be straight up lying to y'all if I said I didn't get down, if I wasn't sad. And matter of fact, it didn't even really hit me until this morning. Oh man, I love this sport. I love it to death. I love it as much as anybody else out there. I think it's the greatest sport on this earth. However, when things do not go your way, it straight up sucks. I do want to throw this in there so you can somewhat get a perspective on how I'm feeling. As an Alabama fan my entire life, I can't express to you enough how thankful I am to witness greatness, and it's still currently going on with Nick Saban and what he's done with that program. You'll never see another dynasty or another run like this ever in your lifetime. To be as dominant as Alabama has been the past 15 years, think about it. We've seen teams have a 4, 5, 6 year span where they're really good, but 15 years, that's unheard of. To be at the top of the top as long as they have pretty much my entire life, I'm just straight up thankful. I love being an Alabama fan. I absolutely love it, but with the good, you get the bad. And that bad is, since you are the top dog, whenever you lose, the rest of the country wins. Whenever you lose, it's national headlines for the next week or two. Every single Saturday, it may not be a big game to Alabama, but it's every other team's Super Bowl. They storm the field every time they beat Bama. Here's a fun fact for you. Since 2010, every time Alabama has lost a road game, they storm the field, the opposing team's fans. Think about that. For the last 12 years, every single time Alabama loses on the road, you storm the field like you won the Super Bowl. I say that to say this. Since it is rare for us to lose, that makes it 10 times harder to accept. Because think about it. I'll give you 2 great examples. I'm also an Alabama basketball fan. I'm not one of those weirdo Alabama football fans and a Kentucky basketball fan. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm an Alabama football fan and an Alabama basketball fan. Do you really think I get upset when the basketball team loses? No. Why is that? Because I'm used to it. It doesn't hurt me that much. Another great example is Tennessee the past 10 years. Tennessee fans, you can vouch for this. You're sort of numb to losing. It doesn't hurt as bad. I talk to Tennessee fans on a regular basis. I've been around them my entire life. They kind of get used to it, and they've been like, yeah, well, that's normally what happens. We should have won the game, but we're Tennessee. We always find a way to screw it up. But for Alabama, it's different. The standard has actually gotten so high, even just winning games isn't good enough for some Bama fans. Every single time that Alabama loses, the perfect way to describe it, it's like a heartbreak. It's the exact same thing, and I'm sure everybody watching this video, we've all had our heart broke at least once. Come on, man. And we all know, if you've ever had your heart broke, what normally happens? You can't really eat for a day or two. You feel funny. You think about it for a week or two, maybe even months. Once again, it's not necessarily losing that hurts, it's the way we lose these games. I am straight up sick and beyond tired of field goal kickers costing us games that we should have won. I can't even begin to describe how bad I feel for Bryce Young. He made 15 plays last night that were absolutely insane, incredible, arguably one of the best performances I've ever seen him have, and he lost. You literally cannot play better than what Bryce Young did last night. Oh yeah, may I remind y'all, he was only about 80%. Whoa, hold on. I can already feel it. Before I get amped up, you know how we do it on Sundays. We got to start out with our 11 a.m. games first. I'll just say this. You're not going to want to miss out on what I got to say about this Bama-Tennessee game because it's different from what everybody else is saying. Starting it off hot, we got to talk about the overrated Big Ten. We got Penn State and Michigan. Michigan, you know what? I got to give credit where it's due. They impressed me. They curb stomped Penn State 41-17. Wasn't necessarily close, especially in the second half. Sean Clifford did his best. Sean Clifford impersonation. He was 7 for 19. Miserable. That's what? 38% completion percentage, 120 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 INTs, QBR 78.6. QBR is deceiving, did not play that good at all. I say he didn't play that good. I don't want you to get it twisted. I didn't think he played bad. It's just he didn't do anything special to win the game. The storyline of the game, I'm going to show you right here. Penn State only had possession for 18 minutes of the game. Michigan had the other 42 minutes. Typical boring Big Ten game where Michigan runs the ball 400 times. J.J. McCarthy did all right. He did his job. He's a game manager, 17 for 24, $150, had 1 interception. It is what it is. The running backs, though, this was the main factor. Do I need to say anything else? Blake Corum is Blake Corum. Dude's been going off all season long. 28 carries, $166, 2 touchdowns. Insane. And Edwards kind of shocked me. Technically, if you want to look at the stats, he outperformed Corum. The thing about Michigan is when we do these recap videos, there's nothing too much to say. They have a boring style of football, and their games go the same way every single Saturday. McCarthy's going to game manage the game, hand the ball off 45 times. Michigan's going to rely on their defense, and yeah, they're going to win the game. I wish I could try to sit up here and say, man, I'm so impressed that Michigan's defense held Sean Clifford and Penn State at 17 points. but it's Sean Clifford and Penn State. They're not some offensive powerhouse. Come on, man. The thing that intrigues me the most about this Michigan game, and I said it in the preview, is they look faster than last year. That team last year was not fast. You saw it in the Georgia game. They got exposed. They didn't have the athletes to compete. I feel like Michigan, this team this year, this may be a bold statement, but they're better than last year's team already. They're still overrated, don't get it twisted, but if they beat Ohio State last year, and I think this team is already better than last year's team, just keep an eye on them. Watch out. I know some Michigan fans may get mad at me saying this. I don't think you should be mad. It's more of a compliment. This Michigan team reminds me a lot of that 2009, 2010, 2011, 12 Alabama teams. Remember when Alabama just had game manager quarterbacks and they'd run the ball and rely on their defense? That's what Michigan does, and it's working. Michigan earned my respect Saturday. You're still overrated, so don't get too high. But you got my respect. Let's get a move on. Another 11 a.m. game. I'm going to talk about this for just a second. Ole Miss beats Auburn 48-34, and they improved to 7-0. Congratulations to Ole Miss. You're 7-0. That's amazing. You haven't played anybody, but you beat everybody you played. I can't knock that. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. Auburn's Auburn. Ole Miss is Ole Miss. We knew this was going to be a relatively high-scoring game, and Ole Miss was probably going to win by a couple of scores, and that's exactly what happened. Auburn's a crap show. We know this. Not going to rant on it too much. I thought maybe when I was watching that game, they could pull it out if they got a play or two to go in their favor. It didn't happen, though. Going on down here to this game, and man, there was no defense being played whatsoever. Kansas and Oklahoma. Oklahoma is currently one of the worst teams in the Big 12, and they arguably have the worst defense in the country. On the flip side for Kansas, I feel so bad for them because things were going so great this year, and boom, their starting quarterback who's been playing awesome, he gets hurt. And ever since Jalen Daniels has been hurt, they've lost back-to-back games. It just leaves you wondering, what if he doesn't get hurt? They lost the last game to TCU by only a touchdown, and this one 10 points. Now, I don't like to play these if, ands, and buts games because injuries are a part of the game, but you're literally talking about Kansas could be sitting at 7-0. That doesn't matter. What does matter is Oklahoma finally got off that embarrassing losing streak and they got a win, but I still would be extremely concerned if I'm an OU fan. How do I say this nicely? You gave up 42 points to Kansas with their backup quarterback. Look, I've said this all throughout the losing streak. The offense is not the problem. We knew Dylan Gabriel, he's good enough to score you 35, 40 points a game. It's the defense. How many games are you going to win giving up 42 points a game? Not many. But hey, a win is a win. When you're on a 3-game losing streak, you'll take anything. Congratulations to OU. Moving on down to this one. This was also a controversial one. Iowa State and Texas. I did not think this game was going to be close. I thought Quinn Ewers was going to go out there, lap the scoreboard, and that is not what happened. There was a couple questionable calls being made late in this game that you could say they swayed the outcome. The bottom line is Texas won, but I was extremely disappointed watching this game. I don't know what it is at Texas. Can Texas fans explain this to me in the comment section? Why do y'all always play down to competition? It is the weirdest thing about Texas the past 10 years. They always play up to competition, but they also play down to it. It doesn't matter if they're playing Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Iowa State, Kansas, Chattanooga, Water State Aquarium, Community College, the game's going to be close. I wish they quit doing that. This team has potential. You got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Ewers went 17 for 26, $170 with 3 touchdowns, 80 QBR. He played all right. Bijan Robinson went off as well. 28 carries, $135. You have the talent. I just don't know what it is about these players that they can't get up and get excited for every single game. These are the games against an Iowa State where you got to go out there, put your foot on their neck, and run it up and win 59-17. Until Texas starts beating the teams they should beat really bad, they're not going to be back. Extremely disappointed in their performance. I thought they would play much better. Moving on down here to our 2:30 games. You know what that means. We're about to talk about Alabama and Tennessee. But first, we got to talk about TCU and Oklahoma State. What about Max Duggan leading the Horned Frogs to a 6-0 record? This game was going on during the Bama game, so I don't really expect many of you to actually have been watching this game, but I went back later that night and I watched the film. My biggest takeaway from this game is we knew this was going to happen. Both teams have terrible defenses and outstanding offenses, or maybe not outstanding, but really good offenses. Here's my question where I was like, wait a minute, we might have to have this debate. Is TCU a contender now? Their defense sucks, but their offense is really good. So keep your eyes on the Horned Frogs. They got my attention. Oh yeah, might as well talk about this for 10 seconds. The overrated ACC top 20 matchup. Syracuse and NC State. Nobody cares, but Syracuse put out the win. You put NC State and Syracuse in the SEC, they're more than likely going 7-5. But now finally, the main reason you clicked on the video, the main encore, the main topic, we got Alabama and Tennessee. 52-49. That was the final score. 52-49. Over 100 points. There are so many places I could start with this. I've been thinking about it ever since last night. I only slept 2 hours. Been getting ready for this video. I thought about it all morning. But I'm going to start here. I'm glad I give it a day of thought. I am so glad I don't do these videos on Saturday night and we do them on Sunday. The reason for that is because if I did make these on Saturday night, the video would be terrible because it would be based off of emotions. It wouldn't be based off of real knowledge and the cold hard facts. 17. I wrote this number down and I looked at it. I stared at it and I thought about it real hard. I said to myself, yep, that's a problem, but there's also another problem. 52. I wrote this number down and I stared at it for a very long time as well. 1752. Do some of y'all know what those numbers represent? I'm sure some of you know 52. That represents Tennessee points. But 17 is the amount of penalties Alabama had last night, which is the most ever in Nick Saban's career. You want to know the saddest part about those 17 penalties? About every single one of them was well-deserved. It's really hard to win games when you have 17 penalties, especially on the road. It's also really hard to win games when you give up 52 points. The fact we was even in that game with how poorly we executed, it was unreal to think about. The execution was pitiful and embarrassing, but it really got overshadowed because of how good the offense was and Bryce Young was. I've said it time in and time out. Bryce Young makes Alabama what they are. You take him off of this team, they're not near as good. You take him off the team last year, they probably go 7-5, 8-4. You take him off the team this year, they probably go 9-3. What makes Bryce Young the best player in college football, one of the most special quarterbacks to ever grace the college football landscape, is he can make up for all those mistakes. And by mistakes, I'm not talking about his mistakes, the mistakes from other players. It has gotten to the point with Bryce, I just try to take it all in when it's happening and appreciate greatness because he's the best quarterback to ever put on an Alabama jersey. What is he? Say it with me now. He's calm, cool, and collected. He's as even keel as it's going to get. I've lost count. It's had to been 5 or 6 games when Alabama is down by a touchdown or they need a late minute drive. They need a field goal to win. There's a minute left. He always performs. He always puts Alabama in position to get that touchdown, the go-ahead field goal, or whatever they need. Some people in life, they want to be the hero, but when it's time to put on the cape, they get scared and they can't do it. Bryce puts on the cape. I was spot on with my Bryce Young prediction. I told y'all before the game I expect at minimum for him to throw for 375 yards, and I wouldn't be shocked if he gets up to 450, and what do you know, he throws for 455. Does it get any better than this? 35 for 52, 455, 2 touchdown to QBR of right at 90? The box score doesn't do it any justice. The plays he's making, extending plays, the Houdini acts, Bryce Young being Bryce Young, it's hard to put in words how great this man is. I went back and watched the film. I know a lot of you don't do this, but I like to do it before my videos. I counted. He made about 14 or 15 plays that are just mind-blowing. But yet, somehow, some way, with that miraculous performance, we still lose the game? Whoa. Hold on. It all goes back to this. 1752. After thinking about this for a very long time, after sleeping on it for about 2 or 3 hours, and thinking about it again this morning, I'm not going to blame the refs. I know a lot of Alabama fans, you're mad and you're going to blame the refs. I get it. I'm not going to, and I'm going to explain why you shouldn't either. One of those is being the number, 17 penalties and 52 points given up. The other is, we all know the pass interference where Alabama picked off the ball. It was a wishy-washy call. I personally thought it was a bull-crap call in the moment, and I still think it's a bull-crap call. I watched it over at least 100 times. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It was 4th down and 6. Hendon Hooker chunks up the ball. I thought Malachi Moore finally played some of the greatest coverage ever, and unfortunately a flag's thrown. What's weird about it to me, and I still got questions about this, is the flag that was thrown during the play wasn't for pass interference. That was thrown for a block in the back on the return. But then when they talk about it, they say, okay, block in the back didn't happen. It's actually pass interference, and they talked about it and huddled up for 3 minutes? That was the longest huddle up and conversation I've ever seen for pass interference. Normally when it's pass interference, it's one guy walking up to the TV screen and he goes 15-yard penalty, pass interference on number 13. Why were 5 officials huddled up for pass interference? Doesn't make too much sense to me. I think that is a wishy-washy call, and I'll leave it at that. But I have a big but, Alabama fans. In the second quarter, we got a wishy-washy call as well on a pass interference that led for a touchdown for us as well. I look at it this way. They got one, and we got one. It is what it is. It evened out. There is also a play I don't see anybody talking about where the Tennessee running back fumbles the ball. We rip it out, but his forward progress got stopped after
2 seconds? What was that about? That was a bullcrap call in my opinion. I thought that was clear as day a fumble, but hey, it is what it is. Move on. There was also another play where our wide receiver, he got pass interfered with, and the dude on defense, he grabbed his face mask and nothing was called. And I'm not saying Tennessee was doing this, but I found it really odd they never got called for holding. I'm not saying they were holding, I just found that odd because it felt like Alabama got called multiple times for it and Tennessee never did. I said all that to say this. If you don't listen to a single other thing I say in this video, please listen to this part. Even with all that wishy-washy stuff that happened to Alabama, we still failed to execute when we needed to execute the most. We didn't control the controllables. When it came down to it late in the fourth quarter, we didn't make plays and Tennessee did. Even with all that bad stuff happening, if you want to use that excuse, I'm not going to use it. We still had an opportunity to win the game on a game-winning field goal, and we missed. We didn't execute. What do you know? There's 15 seconds left. The defense gives up 2 30-yard bombs back-to-back. It's rather simple, guys. Come on now, stick with me. Alabama didn't execute late in the game, and Tennessee did. We didn't lose the games because of the refs. So if you're one of the fans that thinks that, you're out of your mind. We lost the game because we gave up 52 points. We had 17 penalties. We missed a field goal. We didn't execute at the end, and the defense couldn't stop them with 15 seconds left on the clock. One kicker missed a field goal to win the game. The other kicker made it. That was the outcome. For all of my Tennessee fans, I do want to address all of you. I'm happy for you. I really am. It's been 15 long years. You were due for a win. The excitement around that place, especially after the game, as much as it hurt me to watch, that's what college football is all about. When it comes down to the game, though, there's not too much to say about Tennessee. Is this not what we expected? Your passing defense is one of the worst in the country, and we all knew, or at least I knew, if Bryce Young's going to play, he's going to light you up, and he did just that. Don't get it twisted. Just because Alabama lost, it doesn't take away the fact that Bryce Young lit you up. On the contrary, though, Hendon Hooker, he lit up Alabama as well. I'm not shocked that Alabama scored 49 points. That doesn't shock me. What does kind of open my eyes a little more is I did not think Tennessee was going to run over Alabama's defense the way they did. I don't think Alabama's defense is bad. I think the game plan Saturday was terrible, though. I don't understand. Why are we only rushing 3, 4 and letting Hendon Hooker stay back there and pass in a clean pocket? The one time we did blitz, he threw an interception. We didn't put pressure on him. Pete Golden, I think it's time to let him go. For those of you that don't know, Pete Golden is Alabama's defensive coordinator. I just don't understand. If something's not working, the definition of insane is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, and that's what we did. Did we ever blitz 6 guys? I didn't see it. Alabama's got one of the best front sevens in the entire landscape, yet we're not blitzing or doing anything with those guys. And I already know everybody's going to say, oh, well, you got Will Anderson. Well, dang, when Tennessee's got 5 offensive linemen and a running back help blocking 4 people, Will Anderson's not going to get to the quarterback. I just simply don't understand why we never, and I mean never, blitzed. That is one thing I miss about Kirby Smart being the defensive coordinator for Alabama. He was so good with dialing up those blitzes. And Kirby Smart didn't care if you knew the blitz was coming. He was still going to do it. I know some of y'all Alabama fans remember back in the day when Kirby was there, he'd blitz 8 people. He didn't care. But I like that because you got to have that all or nothing attitude. And here's my thing to the Alabama defensive coordinator. Even if you blitz 7 people and they score, it doesn't matter. They're going to score anyway. That is my biggest takeaway from the game, but also do want to give credit to Tennessee's offense. I mean, I've said it all year long. Their offense is really explosive. We know Hendon Hooker's good. I've said it for the past 3 weeks now. I was on the hype train before anybody else. At the beginning of the season, I said he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Nobody believed me, and also said he's got a good chance of winning the Heisman, and some people said I was crazy. Hendon Hooker played great last night, but he still didn't play better than Bryce Young. If you honestly think Hendon Hooker outplayed Bryce Young last night, you're out of your mind. You're genuinely out of your mind. Bryce Young was the best player on that field last night, and it wasn't close. It's unfortunate that Bryce Young put him in a great position to kick and win the game on a game-winning field goal, and yet our kicker misses. I'm not going to be one of those people. I thought about talking about it. Will Reichard, in his first 2 years at Alabama, missed like 2 kicks in his career, and all of a sudden in the last 3 weeks, he's missed like 4 kicks. What's going on with Reichard? I'm not going to be one of those Bama fans who blames the kicker. I already know too many other people are going to do that. And honestly, I wish I could sit up here and try to say and act like I'm shocked an Alabama kicker missed a clutch field goal, but I'm not. If you're shocked by this, you're just stupid at this point. Also for Alabama, that dude Jahmyr Gibbs, man, 24 carries, 103 yards. Box score doesn't do it any justice. His quick twitch abilities, it's insane. He always makes the first couple of defenders miss. If you're in open field with him, good luck. I also do want to talk about this. Nobody else is bringing it up. I was surprisingly shocked with Tennessee's running back. 12 carries for 71 yards, and the other guy, well, not really the other guy, he's pretty good too, Small, 12 carries for 53 yards. Doesn't wow you, doesn't jump out, but getting those 4 and 5 yards of carry, that's what really helped Hendon Hooker open up the passing lanes. Big win for Tennessee, but like I said in a video, I think it was last week, this isn't the end-all be-all for Alabama or Tennessee, whoever loses this game, because in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. For those of you that don't know, yes, this is an SEC matchup, but Tennessee and Alabama are in different divisions. Alabama's in the West, Tennessee's in the East. So essentially meaning, if Alabama wins out, they're going to be in the SEC championship, but if Tennessee loses to Georgia, they won't even make the championship. Think about that. Even with Tennessee beating Alabama, if they lose to Georgia, they won't be in the championship. So yeah, it is a good win for Tennessee, but you still gotta beat Georgia. And this is also what I was talking about. I think it might happen. There's a good possibility. And this was a first step into getting into that possibility. You could see three SEC teams get into the playoff: Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia. I'll explain why real briefly. I may make another video on this. If Alabama runs the table and wins the championship, SEC championship, obviously, they're going to get in. One loss, Bama, SEC champ, they're getting in. If Georgia beats Tennessee, though, and Georgia makes it to the championship and loses to Alabama, but they only have one loss, just like last year, Alabama and Georgia, they're both going to get in. But also, you got to think about it, Tennessee sitting there, yeah, they didn't make it to the championship, but they're 11-1, and they beat Alabama, who won the SEC championship. So you have 3 SEC teams with one loss, all of them being 2 really great teams. And honestly, I feel like that has a great chance of happening because I think Alabama will run the table. I think Georgia right now has a great chance of beating Tennessee. And Tennessee with one loss, and that being to Georgia, why shouldn't they get in the SEC? Not the SEC, but the playoff. Here's my top 5 college football teams after week 7. Number 1, I got Georgia. I don't think anybody's going to argue with that. Number 2, I got Ohio State. Look, if you want to flip-flop these teams, I don't have a problem with it, but here's where don't even run to the comments. Just let me explain and hear me out. At number 3, I got Alabama. Explain that in just a second. At number 4, behind Bama, the team that beat them, I got Tennessee. At number 5, Michigan. I already know what everyone's saying. Matt, what are you talking about? Are you stupid? How are you putting Bama above Tennessee? Tennessee just beat them. And yes, they did just beat them, but it was because one kicker made a field goal and another kicker missed a field goal. That was the outcome of the game. So just because Tennessee's kicker made a field goal and Alabama's kicker missed a field goal, it doesn't mean that I think Tennessee is better than Alabama. If they played tomorrow, I'm still picking Alabama to beat them. I think Bama is a better team. Keep in mind, these aren't standings. If we're doing standings, yes, I would say Tennessee deserves to be ahead of Bama. But these are my top 5 college football teams. These are not standings, and I see what most people are going to do. Yes, Tennessee beat Alabama head-to-head, so theoretically they deserve to be ahead of him. But I got to be brutally honest with you guys. I still think Alabama's a better team. And I have to put the better team ahead. That's just how I am. I'm being honest. I know it's not going to be popular. I know a lot of you are going to hate me for that, but that's how I feel. Let me put it this way into a different perspective. You mean to tell me, and this is what's going to happen, Alabama's going to fall out of the AP top 5 just because one kicker made a field goal? And what's crazy about that is if Will Reichard, which is Alabama's kicker, makes a field goal, they'd be the number 1 team in the country. So all these AP poll voters and really people out there in general, you think just because of a field goal, Alabama, there's a 5 or 6 point difference in their ranking? I'll tell you this, I don't. Absolutely not. And I do have Michigan at number 5. That's because I think if Michigan plays Tennessee, they lose. If they played Alabama, they lose. If they play Ohio State, they lose. And if they play Georgia, they lose. That's my top 5. Moving on to these night games, and I'm going to wrap up this video. Clemson beat Florida State. Florida State ain't that good. Congratulations to Clemson. Kentucky upsets Mississippi State. And then USC loses to Utah. To all my Bama fans, if you thought the officiating was bad in that Bama-Tennessee game, I hope you watched that USC-Utah game. It was even worse. And I mean that. It was bad. Utah pulls it out and gets a 2-point conversion at the end. And it's so sad that Caleb Williams and Bryce Young was spectacular, magical, both of them. Caleb Williams, he had 5 touchdowns, 25 of 42, 380 yards, QBR of 90, and he still loses. I can't help but feel sorry for both of those guys. What a day of college football. What a day. It felt like yesterday was 4 days combined into one. I am so curious, and I know you guys are going to. Let me know your thoughts down below. But, right away, buddy!